I apologize, family. I apologize. Mr. Basin hit the wrong key back there. But good evening, peace, love, and blessings, and prosperity to each and every last one of you all. Thanks so much for tuning in again on tonight. We didn't go live Friday because you all know that Monday, Wednesday, Friday is actually I be busy working, my son, appointments. I have a lot, so it's well. I won't complain. But we're gonna break this thing down to 2 hours on tonight. So it's gonna be a continuous of content um that I sent over to Mr. Bass. He has lots of content, you all. So we're gonna keep this thing rolling. And once again, you all, we are discussing Eazy. Um, so part one was on last Wednesday. So this is part two. So once again, thank you all so much for tuning in. To the ones that's coming in, please hit that like button, comment, share, and subscribe. To the ones that are already in, if you have not hit that like button, please reach over and hit that like button, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. We thank you all so much for tuning in. Peace, love, and blessings to all. Shout out to everyone in the comment section. Vita, Miss Emma, Meatloaf. Let me see who else I seen. Um, Mr. Bays. That's about it for right now. So blessings to each and every last one of you all. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Moderators, thank you all so much for all you all do. So I'm about to bring Mr. Bass up, y'all. Once again, thanks to everybody that is tuned in on tonight. Please be sure to hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you all so much. Mr. Bass.
What's happening? Can you hear me?
Hey, I can hear you, love.
Oh, okay. Hey, peace and
Hey.
peace and blessings, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hit that like button, subscribe, share, hit that bell icon so that you get notifications and do engage in the chat. I'll be dropping the link in a short for anyone that want to come up and discuss the information. When you come up in the backstage, please turn your camera on so we can verify you are a real person, and then we'll go from there. We'll bring you up at the earliest convenience chance.
Prayer.
All right, family. Here we go.
Let me say a prayer real quick, Mr. Bass. I
Oh, okay.
apologize. All right. Father, Lord God, we thank you so much for blessing us to see another day, Father God, for bringing us all together once again another day. I ask that you forgive us for our sins, Father, short of your glory. Father God, I ask that what's being brought forth on tonight, Father God, allow all to be revealed, which you lead in us, Father, Lord. For this world is so dark and wicked, and you know, Father, allow everything to be exposed. All things that are hidden shall be revealed. Father God, for you have the victory, the glory, and we glorify you and we honor you in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Let's go, Mr. Bates.
Amen.
Mr. Bates, you can go to the next one. That one was already shown. Yeah, that's the one we closed out on Wednesday. That's the his funeral. and we seen that on Wednesday. So you go ahead on with the next one.
Eazy-E's life was brief and eventful. Born Eric Lynn Wright in 1964, Eazy-E changed the rap world. Seemingly nothing can touch the unassailable legacy of Eazy-E, the godfather of gangsta rap. Eric Wright, otherwise known as Eazy-E, was born in Compton, California, a dangerous place to come of age in the 80s. After dropping out of high school in the 10th grade, he reportedly became a drug dealer in order to survive. Wright's future manager, Jerry Heller, wrote in his memoir, "You had to have a role. You had to be thug, playa, athlete, gangsta, or dope man." In the mid-80s, Wright set up a makeshift music studio in the garage of his parents' home, where he made his first recordings. He formed Ruthless Records with Jerry Heller in 1986, partly funding the company with money he made from dealing drugs, according to Vibe. He soon began collaborating with two local musicians who would come to be known as Dr. Dre and Ice Cube.
As long as it's violence, it's gonna be rap music, gangster rap music, whatever.
They called themselves NWA. In 1988, NWA's album Straight Outta Compton went double platinum and pulled gangsta rap into the public spotlight.
But despite being banned in many places, NWA sold 3 million copies of their Straight Outta Compton album.
The rap group gained more infamy after the FBI issued NWA's distributor a warning letter after the release of The Police. Controversy followed NWA like a shadow. A few members faced criminal charges in the early 90s, including Dr. Dre, who became embroiled in a legal scandal after attacking rap artist and TV personality Dee Barnes, then a host of a rap show in 1991.
They grabbed me by my hair and started slamming me up against the wall.
Dre also submitted to house arrest after assaulting a record producer and a police officer. Meanwhile, Eazy-E found another way to court criticism. In 1991, he attended a fundraising lunch for then-President George H.W. Bush and even donated to his cause.
Before the Republicans realized it was all a computer foul-up, Eazy-E just sent in the money and was made an official member.
Basically, what I did is I paid $1,500 for $1 million worth of press.
NWA didn't last. In 1989, Ice Cube left the group after a dispute about royalties. The rap group continued releasing music without him, with several tracks attacking Ice Cube for his perceived betrayal. Cube responded in turn, criticizing NWA, Jerry Heller, and Eazy on a number of solo tracks, most notably on No Vaseline. In 1992, Dre also became unhappy with Ruthless Records. He and fellow NWA member, the DOC, left to join Suge Knight's label, Death Row Records.
Suge tried to destroy my record company with the help of others, Dre.
Only 6 years after Eazy had started NWA, the rap group was over.
What happened with NWA? Basically, the breakup, I think it was like egos. I don't know.
As early as 1994, Eazy began experiencing the symptoms of an apparent bout of asthma. It wasn't until early 1995, however, that he finally checked himself into the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. To his surprise, the doctors diagnosed him with AIDS.
A hardcore rapper who celebrates sex, crime, and violence in his music is in a hospital tonight with AIDS.
Eazy's condition worsened quickly. Knowing the end was near, he issued a statement to fans, warning them to, quote, learn about what's real when it comes to AIDS, and signing off with a final message. Just remember, it's your real time and your real life. In 2016, his son, Lil Eazy-E, recalled his father's final moments in an interview with Vlad TV.
I went to see him and really more so just him kind of crying and me crying. So, you know what I mean? It was no more words.
He took all of that street knowledge and hustling on the streets and brought it over to this thing that we was doing, you know what I'm saying? And super smart, creative.
Eric Wright's spirit lives on in his 7 children, including his daughter, rap artist E.B. Wright, who began working on a documentary about her father's life in 2013. In 2015, she told the website That's Hot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just pretty much going to touch on every little thing that people want to know about and things that people don't even know that they want to know about yet. It's going to be very jaw-dropping, absolutely.
That same year, Eazy-E was the subject of the Oscar-nominated film Straight Outta Compton, which charted the rise of NWA and was dedicated to Eazy. Actor Jason Mitchell portrayed him in the film.
Not only do I get to rehumanize him, but I also get the ultimate challenge as an actor to really embody that person.
Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about your favorite artists are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.
You might not have guessed that Eazy-E, Eric Wright is his real name, would be among this group of well-off Republicans who paid $1,250 to become members of something called the Republican Inner Circle, who were waiting in line today to hear Law and Order man George Bush at a private members-only reception. Whatever else all this means, Eazy-E says he thinks it's cool, and it does seem to underline one truth that applies to politicians of both parties these days. If you've got the money, they've got the time.
You're working on the Chronic. Should I pull up the track listing on the Chronic?
Okay.
Dre Day?
No, the dog.
Let Me Ride?
RBX, little DLC.
The Day the N-words take over?
That's don't that sound like this?
That's you? Yeah. Nothing But a G Thing?
Me and the dog.
Oh, man. Nothing But a G Thing was like an atom bomb when it dropped.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a good one.
These Nuts was a song.
Yeah.
Is that you?
Yeah, I think I'm in there somewhere.
Little Ghetto Boy?
Yeah.
N-word with a Gun?
Yeah.
Rat-a-tat-tat?
Yeah.
20 Sack Pyramid, you did that was you in the skit. Lyrical Gangbang?
No, that's all the crew. The young ones. But I helped them.
High Powered?
No, that's RBX.
Straight on Death Row?
No, that's the crew again.
The Roach?
No,
that's an outro. Yeah. Bitches Ain't Shit?
Yeah. Oof. Dre's verse.
Yeah.
I'm always, man, I was all over that record. Wow.
The Chronic comes out. Goes through the roof.
Right.
Depending on who you talk to, there is a segment of the population that says that this is the greatest hip-hop album ever made.
You know, there's a whole different, Death Row created a whole different sound.
The crazy thing about the Chronic is that when we did Black Mafia Life, the Chronic wasn't even invented. Now now everybody heard Black Mafia Life. Then a lot of stuff, theories that end up coming on the Chronic.
Okay.
Right?
And that's the G-Funk discrepancy.
What do you mean the G-Funk discrepancy?
Well, when I was at Ruthless, I came up with G-Funk.
The name.
My crew came up with the whole vision of G-Funk. The whole, it was our sound, basically. Okay. And then when the Chronic drops, it turns into where Snoop and Warren and all those guys was over there, and they were highly influenced by what we were doing. A couple of the ideas ended up on a Chronic record that was on Black Mafia Life.
Watch my back, cause I remember the days when I really wasn't paid before my 6-bedroom house in my living made. I used to roll trick dice in the corners with Gold Mac when it was me. Total King-Ass in that G selling crack.
And pass the bud and stay low key, BG, cause you lost all your homies' love. Now call it what you want to. You fucked with me, now it's a must that I fuck with you. I might as well make a whole holler. And let me ride. What all the niggas saying? Hell yeah.
I'm not bragging, I'm just out the lag, and you don't wanna fuck with me. I'm not bragging, I'm just out the lag, and you don't wanna fuck with me.
Show you ride, check it out. Y'all motherfuckers just been rent. So check this out. I'm not
flagging, but I'm just sagging. I bet you don't wanna see the D-O-double-G. And you can't see the D-R to the E on my motherfucking homie D-O.
But the thing of it is that we say as Above the Law and Cocaine, we always say just give us ours. Don't count us out of the history of hip hop.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
But that's the only thing that made our relationship a little strange. But shoot, right after me and him discussed it and talked about it, we was back to 100%.
I'm gonna tell y'all one thing that I know for a fact. And rest in peace, Eazy-D. One thing about Eric, X told me one day I thought Andre did all the music,
Good
all
night,
the
McDowell.
beats. All right, whoop. You know what Eric told me?
Huh.
People send our demos in. Andre redo them. We redo the raps.
Yeah.
That's the song.
All right.
I took that same get down. So basically I took it from Eazy. It did the same shit. I took it from Eazy and took it to another level.
Is there any Dr. Dre beat or any Daz Dillinger beat that gets confused for a Dr. Dre beat a lot?
Oh, I did Ain't No Fun. I did slew of songs, Rat-a-tat-tat. I mean, you know, a bunch of songs I probably just got programmed drum, programmer, something like that on there. Little Ghetto Boy, you know, the strings, I put them in there. You know, just Dr. Dre just showed us, you know, how to put it together.
I was the guy who would go and dig and bring the records back. I would go.
So you was
dig.
looking for the breaks. You was looking for the drums. You was
Yeah, like Let Me Ride, the one little part, the that was in there, and that was in there too. Dre took that shit. I was like, listen to this, Andre. He heard it. He was like, that's dope. He took it and he did his magic to it. And I was like, damn. Yeah. You know, it was like that with, you know, with a lot of the records, like the doom, doom, boom. That's a little sample that's right. It was the same record that at the Cube used it. Da, da, make the world.
Oh yeah, that's
It's on that same record.
In your experience, you being in the room, how much did Warren G contribute idea-wise that Dre then took and turned into something else? And that was just part of you paying your dues.
A lot of the damn near the whole Chronic, you know, I contributed, but it was
a collective
team effort, you
right.
know. It was incredible. I even like on Stranded on Death Row, I was like, man, listen to this. It was that Isaac Hayes, that
yeah, in the beginning, yeah.
I said, listen to this. He took that and put the keep on moving drums up under it. I was like, boom, boom, that's it. Oh my God. I was like, this dude is incredible.
So there was an incident that actually happened in the Solar Records building with George and Linwood Stanley.
Mhm.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I can tell you what I know. So, you know, they're in the building. We're paying all the bills. We get a phone bill that was something like, I want to say $8,000. So Griffey calls Suge in and he says, look at this bill. This is ridiculous. If you can't get those knuckleheads down there to stop using the phone, I'm going to throw you out. That night, Suge comes into the building, you know, and one of the Stanley brothers was on the phone. He asked the guy to get off the phone. And so he tells Suge, he didn't know who Suge really was. He said, hey, look, I'm want to get Dre's guest. Go talk to him. And Suge said, I don't talk to him. I run this. He said, man, go leave me alone. They were actually there to try and get Dre, who by then is becoming known as a hit producer, to do something for them. So Suge apparently goes out, goes back downstairs to his car, gets a gun, comes back, puts the gun to his head, and says, motherfucker, I told you to get off the phone. So then he hangs up the phone. Suge brings him into the studio and has everybody, you know, people from the rehearsal, said, I want you all to come in here. And he said, this is what's going to happen if you use that phone. He tells the guy, take off his clothes. And he says, I'm not taking off my clothes. So then he shoots the gun he has by the guy's ear. Then he has a guy undress and he says, could fuck you up, but I'm not going to do that. But I know where you live. I got your driver's license. I know where your mama lives. And this is just a lesson for all of you all. If you use that phone, I'm going to fuck you up. So then he tells the Stanley brothers to get out. So the guy leaves the studio, goes downstairs, hails a cop car, and files a criminal complaint. That led to an assault case, criminal case being filed against Suge.
Okay.
Assault and battery. And then I got more details because the Stanley brothers also filed a civil lawsuit. So that was Suge's first criminal case. And so that was that was probably the start of what ended up putting him in jail, because it was later when he had the fight in Vegas that was a violation of his probation.
Of that 5-year probation.
That's correct.
Okay. In one of your interviews, you said that once Suge started, things started to build, he started to get a reputation.
What it was an interesting thing for me to watch from the outside. When Suge first took over and started running Death Row, he would call up people trying to get meetings. Nobody meet with him. As his reputation as a gangster grew, everybody wanted to meet with him. That had its impact on him and his ego. He was still in the Interscope building in Westwood, and that's where I went to see him. He had big red carpet and stuff. And I told him, you're getting this reputation that people are afraid of you. He said, yeah, isn't that great?
Well, you said at one point, Suge started hiring gang members.
He did.
And he kind of became the boss of that gang.
Yeah, what he did is he put the word out in the street. If you're coming home, you need a job, come see me.
During that time of Death Row, you talked about it being so bad in the studio sometimes that shots would ring out sometimes. You said I'm sure if anyone got shot, but were you saying how fights would be commonplace?
Well,
the gang element was there?
It was pretty bad.
I was just going through too much in that time, and I couldn't hold on, and then when the gangbang shit got really over the top, and it was just, oh my God, it was just a bad place to be.
Well, I remember there was this line from Eazy-E on Compton City G's where he said, "But Dre Day made Eazy's payday." So ultimately, Eazy ended up profiting from the Chronic and other projects.
Yeah, it's like 25%, 20%, something like that.
Eazy got 25% of the Chronic, but him and Dre were no longer cool.
No, them partners, and those was like this.
So they were super
tight.
close before.
Oh, brothers. When we worked on Live Like Hustlers, it was only 3 people at the studio besides the brother-in-law. And it was Law, Dre, and Eazy. You know what I'm saying?
So Dre and
Every
Eazy,
day.
Dre and Eazy went from being brothers to
Arch
songs like
enemies.
to songs like Dre Day coming out
and real motherfucking G's.
How close were you with Eazy during by this time?
Oh, really, really close. I was a
Super close.
liaison at Ruthless Records at that time. I worked on 2 records with him, 5150 and its own Dr. Dre, the one with real motherfucking G's on it.
Oh, so you actually dissed?
I didn't diss. I just worked on the album.
You did you actually produce? the
No,
song?
because Rhythm D produced that.
Okay,
record.
Rhythm D produced.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you end up hooking up with Eazy?
Well, basically, like I had a reputation for, in the neighborhood, like the local LA area for rapping. My brother was in California Youth Authority, Dre to the Gangster. He was in Youth Authority, and his reputation kind of spread throughout the youth, the Youth Authority or whatever.
What a lot of people don't know is that I was already like preparing a lot of things before I left Youth Authority. I helped start a media production program in Youth Authority, where I was learning editing and dealing with toasters and dealing, because this is something I wanted to do. I already filmed my first rap videos and stuff, and I'm the first person in Youth Authority to do these things. I made the front page of LA Times for doing these things. You know what I mean? So I was only out for 3 months. Within 3 months, I had already been to the studio, met with E. He asked me, what I heard what was going on and this and that. I said, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And he said, man, well, I got this record, let's listen to this record, listen to the beat. He said, man, you gonna write something for me? I said, yeah, I can write something for you, man. He said, man, you gonna be on it with me? I said, man, yeah, man, I'll write something for you. So I took the track home, we set up there. Next day, came back.
My brother came home later that night. He was like, I was in the studio with Eazy. I'm like, yeah. He was like, yep. He had songs written that they already did and everything. So I was like, wow. He was like, we going tomorrow, so you better be around. So the next day I went. They was doing Real Compton City G's. My brother, wrote the song, arranged it, wrote him and Eazy's verse and all this.
Okay, so Drayster actually wrote Eazy's
Drayster
part.
was the writer, and he was the whole person behind the concept, because what it was Eazy would tell us stories about, Dre, Death Row, all these things, and that's how he came up with the lyric. So in the process of them recording the song, the part that I rapped on, they don't know how the beat got extended right there. So everybody was like, what happened right here? You know? And I'm just sitting back like, shit, I don't know. You know what I mean? So after they was trying to figure it out, somebody looked over at me and they was like, you go try something. Went in the studio. I went in the booth, bust all these old raps that I had. And they was like, nah, because I guess it wasn't fitting with the concept.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, give me some more weed. Somebody brought me some weed, we smoked it, and I just freestyled that verse. And they was recording everything that I was doing. I didn't know.
Okay.
So when they recorded it, they was like, that's it. They told me to come out, write it down, try to, you know, make it better or whatever. And that's really how it happened.
Dre Day was already out.
Right.
How was Eazy sort of feeling in the studio about this whole situation?
It wasn't never even a thought. Like he didn't care about that, man. Like,
oh, but he was doing a diss record.
Yeah, I mean, of course, because you got to understand, Eazy's a smart man. You know what I'm saying? And he always was looking for a way to gain something from publicity.
I mean, you know, he was the thing about Eric. Eric was a realist. He's like, how some fake motherfuckers gonna diss me, some non-gangster motherfuckers, like, because he looked at it from the perspective that he was the gangster from Compton.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he feel like, okay, and he was like, oh, I don't even know Snoop.
Snoop was the little young cat that, you know, Dre ended up riding with Dre or whatever. And, you know, like Snoop, we did all our research and homework on him, and nobody could vouch for him for all the stuff he was talking. You know what I'm saying? Like being a gangster from Long Beach and all this. Nobody knew this cat.
He knew, like, okay, I know Dre is a cool musical dude, but he not what he's saying.
Right.
He won't do nothing to me, basically, is what he's saying. Like, and I don't even know who this other dude is. He from Long Beach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was his take on it.
Okay.
You know, he gave a fuck, but he didn't really give a fuck because Eazy was like, I'm gonna get back at him. You know?
And he did the Real Compton City G.
Exactly.
So I think that was like, you know what I mean? Because you got to think about it. The album was called It's On Dr. Dre 187 Killer.
Right.
It was already done. It was already slated to come out. But when we made Real Motherfucking G's, he was like, fuck that. This got to go on the album. Because remember that one song, well, if it's on, motherfucker, then it's on. That was supposed to be the single. So when we made that one, he was like, nah, that's the one. And then he know me and my brother, you know, we had street cred from the hood. So he was like, fuck that, we gonna roll with this. But as far as talking about Dre, thinking about, it wasn't really like, he wasn't sweating it. He was thriving off, you know, what he can make from it. But it wasn't like he was sweating. He was getting paid from it. Why would he be mad about it?
All right, so you guys do the video.
Mm-hmm.
You drop the video. What was the reaction after that?
It was so crazy. I was in high school. You got to imagine. I'm in high school in the 12th grade.
So did the song come out before the video or did it come out at the same time?
No, the video came out first, I believe. Nobody ever heard the song. And this was the crazy part. Like people, when we was filming the video and the song is playing through the little speaker, people was going crazy. Like, and they like so many people gravitated towards it. Like, and that's why you see all those people in the video, because people just start, I guess the initial people who came, everybody started calling people, come up here, come up here. And the video was crazy. I think it was a 5-day shoot. We was all throughout Compton, all in my neighborhood. And it was a wild time.
Then I hope that your fans understand when you talk about spraying me. The same records that you're making is playing me. Motherfuck Dre, motherfuck Snoop, motherfuck Death Row. Yo, and here comes my left blow. Cause I'm the Eazy, and this is the season to let the real motherfucking G's in. Yeah, murder was the case that they gave me. Murder was the case that they gave me. I'm fresh about my coma. I got my mama and my daddy and my homies in my corner. It's gonna take a miracle, they say, for me to walk again and talk again. But anyway, I get running some keys to get back on my feet. And everything that brother said came to reality.
On the Chronic, we was just help putting it together.
Right.
On the Doggy Style, we actually created and put it together. Instead of Dre taking our ideas and putting it down, that's when we was just all learning from the first album. Then in Doggy Style, the Murder Was the Case, that's when I started producing everything. I was learning right up on doing that, you know what I mean?
To ask you a question, Dre, how would you like if I put on the record, Mr. Potato Head, thanks to Mr. Potato Head, how would you like that? You know what I'm saying? And never get no recognition throughout the whole wide world. You know what I'm saying? Just a couple of handshakes at the bar. You know what I'm saying? We're alone. But as far as the worldwide credibility, why couldn't it be Emmanuel Dean instead of Portside? That's what I would have really loved. You know what I mean? But I know I did Gin and Juice. You know what I'm saying? And I know Dr. Dre cannot play any music. He did definitely made the beat, and you know what I mean? But I mean, as far as the music was concerned, he watched, and I definitely did what I had to do, you know, and I asked him for credit and money, and when he said for what, I already had a publishing deal the day before offered to me by NY, so I let him answer the way he wanted to answer. And when he said, for what? I said, okay, cool. Right then and there, I was like, okay, I'm going to go with EMI. So the next day I came back to him and I told him, you know what? It was on Tuesday. It was Monday when I talked to him. It was Tuesday the next day when I came back to him. I said, Friday's my last day. And you know what I mean? I think I made about probably $5,000 or $6,000 working with him. And I did Gin and Juice, and I did Snoop Doggy Dogg on the second day I knew Dr. Dre. The second day I knew him, I did Snoop Doggy Dogg. I didn't get a platinum record. Hey, yo, Dre, I never got a platinum record or nothing from Death Row Records, man.
Who made the track for Gin and Juice?
My homeboy Emmanuel Dean. You know what I mean? He played all the keyboards and all the melodies. And, you know what I mean? And Dr. Dre, he came up with the drums, but should have gave him some credit, some of them motherfuckers.
What other song did he
What's
do?
my name? All that all that shit, you know what I mean? All that keyboard shit, that's Emmanuel.
What's the fucking name? Yeah.
I've come to LA to meet the creator of the most anticipated rap album of all time. Snoop Doggy Dogg's album, Doggy Style, has already sold advanced orders of 2 million. Released last Monday, it sold out immediately and is the first debut album ever to enter the charts at #1. All this from the ex-Crip drug dealer who's currently on $1 million bail on a charge of accessory to murder.
Despite what Snoop says, there's 63 references to bitches on Doggy Style, but it's the 70 references to guns and killing that's given ammunition to those who insist gangster rap glorifies violence. He's now set to become the most successful rap artist of all time, and although he's added a new soulful tip to gangster rap, his pedigree shows that he hasn't always been this mellow.
You have actually been inside for 3 years. What did you think you learned from that experience? A whole lot of shit that you can't experience on the streets. It's rarely unexplainable. I can't explain it to you. You'd have to go there yourself and see. And I'm not telling you to do no shit to get in that position, but if you fuck around and do that type of shit, it's gonna happen.
But Snoop's still in trouble with the law. On the 3rd of September this year, he was arrested on the way to the MTV Video Music Awards. The charge, accessory to murder. Snoop's pleading not guilty, but his lawyers are refusing to let him talk about the case. He's still on the LAPD's most wanted list, even if it only is for an autograph.
Snoop Doggy Dogg, the man who made gangster rap mainstream, stands accused of murder. His first album, Doggy Style, boasted 2 million in advanced orders. It sold out as soon as it hit the shops and was the first album to enter the US charts at #1. Like many rappers, Snoop's sales success has gone hand in hand with his brushes with the law. Also on Rap Row is Snoop's own producer, Dr. Dre, sentenced to house arrest following charges of battery, and Tupac Shakur awaiting trial for the alleged shooting of 2 off-duty cops and for sexual assault. Snoop's accused of the murder of 25-year-old Philip Walder Merriam, who was shot in a gangland shootout in West LA. Snoop claims it was self-defense. However, Snoop's lawyer does admit that McKinley Lee, Snoop's bodyguard, did shoot the bullet and Snoop was driving the car. Under American law, Snoop could face 15 years to life imprisonment. Mysteriously, whilst awaiting trial, Snoop appeared in a slickly produced 18-minute film, Murder Was the Case, showing him involved in a shooting in which he returns fire on his assailants in self-defense. His record company told us yesterday that the film bears no relation to any real events.
What really changed with Suge from, you know, at the time that you guys were working on The Chronic to when The Chronic started to really blow up, and then Doggy Style started to blow up, and then the Dog Pound blew up, and, you know, like project after project after project was going platinum, multi-platinum.
A little ego, you know. When we first began this venture,
we was all brothers and sisters, you know, with Jewel and Rage and the whole, we was all trying to get this together. And we went from being family to, oh, these is my artists. Everybody, you know, cater to his needs and his whims and whatnot, make him feel a certain kind of way, I guess. Do that, ride that wave, homie, but understand that we the ones that put you in that position, because without this music, you wouldn't have nothing to go in there and sell them, for them to give you that money for you to be walking around like that.
In a different interview, you said he's not a street tough, he's a wannabe. He created an image, but in terms of the mentality, the hardness, he doesn't have it.
He doesn't. He was never, you know, he's a big guy, but he wasn't what I would consider to be a criminal. I know criminals.
Did you guys know Suge?
Yeah.
Okay. Well?
No. The only time we ever ran into Death Row, we got nominated for a Billboard Award. So they had at the Universal Amphitheater. The very first time we went, it was only 7 of us. You know how Suge used to roll. He had like 300 people with him. I'm itching to see Daz, Corrupt, anybody, Snoop. So when we get inside, I see Dre, Suge, DOC, all them are in the front row of the place. Nate Dogg, Daz, Corrupt, all them, they sitting probably about 5 seats behind us.
Okay.
So when they showed us where we sitting at, I'm like, forget that. I jumped up. I walked up there. I started gang banging on all like Daz and Corrupt. And I'm like, what's up with that Nutty Block Crip? Like, Nate Dogg was the only dude who stood up. He had a hockey mask on, so I didn't even know who the fuck he was.
Wait,
but he stood up in the seat, like Long Beach, he gang banging. I'm like, come out, and tell him to come out. You know what I'm saying? Like, come out the road. What's happening? Whoa. So some people seen it. They try to stop it. I go back and sit down. The award ceremony happened, and then they had an intermission. So I see Suge. Eazy went up to go meet somebody. You know, it was a bunch of celebrities, so everybody shaking hands. So Eazy was talking. I see Suge kind of trying to press Eazy. So me and my brother jumped up, ran up there, like, what's happening? Suge was like, yeah, outside. We're going to see what's happening outside. Then Mike Conception, you know who he is?
Yeah, I know who he is.
Mike Conception was there deep with a bunch of OG Crip dudes. They seen what was going on, and they was like, Suge, ain't nothing popping up in here, homie. Like, whoa. So Suge kind of backed up. He was like, all right, outside. We see what happened when we get outside. So after the award ceremony, we had 2 homies with us. They came back to the hood. They brought straps for everybody. So we went outside. Everybody was strapped up. So we got outside. We like, Suge, what's happening? Like, I thought you was going to do something when we get outside. He was like, man, I ain't tripping on that shit. It's like, all right.
Did you ever run into him again?
Yeah. Ran into him. We was at this club called the Glam Slam. Prince used to own this one club downtown LA.
That's the first time we ever met Suge. And this was an MC Ren performance at Death Row, and came in, and with Real Cop City G just started hitting the box, right?
And I remember we was backstage. We probably had 5 minutes to come out. And I think somebody from Above the Law ran back there. Suge them outside. Suge them outside. We leaving.
A lot of folks, and I don't speak on no names and all that, but a lot of folks was running around. Hey man, y'all, watch out. And Suge them in here, man. Y'all, what the fuck is wrong with you niggas? Man?
They actually boned out.
And a lot of people was leaving and all kind of shit. I said, man, where they at? He said, oh, they by the bar. Man. I said, and walk, man. I started walking. I looked behind me. All these dudes was walking behind me.
So me and my brother, it's the funny thing is my brother, one of my brother's cousins was one of his bodyguards. So when we get out there, he's my brother, like we looking for Suge. He's at the bar, him and Dr. Dre at the bar, like leaning on the bar, like 3 bodyguards is protecting them. And I guess my brother cousin seen him and he grabbed my brother, what's up? They hugging and whatever. My brother, like, we want to holler at Suge, because Suge had a rumor that he was gonna slap us when he seen us, supposedly, from what people were saying. So he was like, come on. He took us over there. He was like, Suge, what's happening? You supposed to slap us, homie? Like when you see us, you know what I mean? He was like, nah, man, I love y'all little niggas. I want y'all to sign to Death Row.
Suge said he wanted to sign y'all to Death Row?
He tried to. He kept sending people for me. Like it was some dude that used to play football. He was like a ex-NFL player. And he used to send a dude with a check with $50,000. Like he used to pop up everywhere I was at.
Suge was really trying to talk us into coming to Death Row, doing the Eazy diss record and fucking with Death Row.
I think it was a setup.
And we wouldn't do it. I mean, he sent checks and I sent them back. So I don't get down like that.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean?
Big checks?
50 grand.
50 grand. It wasn't, you know.
You sent a 50 grand check back.
I sent it back.
Yeah, we both did.
My mama, we both did.
You were
We had
loyal
checks
to Eazy.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, like
Okay.
you know, like we can talk business,
we
but I
was
wasn't
broke
going to
too,
do it
so.
based on, you know, coming to try to, you know, trash Eazy legacy, I wouldn't feel to do that. You know,
Nah,
because that ain't what it should have been about. It should have been about confidence.
Dre said, you discovered Bone Thugs and Harmony?
I can't say, I'm gonna keep it all the way funky, right? It wasn't like I basically discovered. They were already someone that heard them perform outside.
Now, how did the initial meeting with Eazy-E get set up?
We was able to contact him at his office. He was on tour at the time, so the secretary that was working there like promised that as soon as he got back or whatnot, she would put us in contact with him, and that's what happened. We called there and left a message, several messages, and Eazy ended up calling. He actually ended up calling us back, and at that point we auditioned for him and shared some lyrics with him. And then
after we rapped, he was like, he was kind of blown away, and we can tell he was, because after we rapped the first time, he went and put us on speakerphone so we could do the same thing to, I guess, everybody who was in the office at the time. And when we went to Cleveland and finally met him, we somehow snuck to the dressing room, blended in with his entourage after he got off stage.
We were at this arena that you can't get into this arena without being able to, especially backstage. You know what I mean? So, and it was so locked down that security wouldn't even allow them to bring them backstage. Right. So they asked me to come Dre some rappers I want you to come listen to, because this was basically the role I played in Ruthless and with Eazy-E at that moment. I was the guy that he sent the talent to. You know what I'm saying? So when I went outside to listen, I liked what I heard, and it was different. You know what I mean? And so I took them backstage with me to the dressing room, and I told Eazy, they just rap, I need you to listen to them, and from there, it went from there.
Okay, now how does four unknown dudes manage to sneak backstage and into Eazy-E's dressing room? Because that's not easy to do. I mean, especially with security and with Eazy being as high profile as he is.
Well, it was our city. We knew a few people there, and determination shit. We had to get back there.
For real.
So it was like y'all ain't taking no for an answer. Y'all getting backstage.
Pretty much. For real. We met him outside the dressing room, and he was like, "It's y'all the dudes that I talked to on the phone?" And we was like, "Yeah." And right there, we just started talking. He gave us the number to his hotel and the address and wanted us to come up there. So after the show, we went to the hotel, and he came out and he was like, "So what y'all trying to do with this? Is y'all trying to make a career out of this?" We was like, "Man, yes, we ready to leave right now. We ain't got no luggage to take. We ain't got shit to bring. Let's go." And then he paid for us to get back to California like the next day.
So bam, right? So this happened. This is 94, right? We get back to LA. And we toured like throughout the year periodically, right? And so every time we would come back, I would ask E, like, "Hey, what's up with them Cleveland dudes?"
Yeah, he was
like,
hiding them from us.
Bone, whatever their name is. Like, so he would act like he didn't know for a minute, and then one day he was like, "Oh, they here."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What you mean they here?" He was like, "Yeah, I got them in a hotel over here
on Western."
And we've been ever since that day. We never really separated. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
You and Eazy, I guess hooked up in the hotel room and so forth. He flew y'all to LA, and then what happens?
We immediately started working on the first EP, Creeping on the Come Up, which took us only like a week and some change to wrap up and have it completely mixed and mastered in like 2 weeks. It only took like a few days to record the 6 songs that are on there, 7 songs that are on there. And it was wrapped up real quick in like 2 weeks, and it was out by the summer.
When you guys got signed and started working on your album, like how many of those songs were kind of, more or less completed, rough ideas, etc.?
I would say, I would say about 98%.
Even and not to mention that was just the EP.
Right.
Even the songs that you heard on Eternal, the album after that, we had all that already pre-written because we used to write them every day. So we basically had our albums done in our head. We had the ideas, the whole image, the concepts, and everything. They were done. All we were missing was the beats.
Okay. And where was Ruthless Records at this time? Like, had everyone from NWA left at this point except for Yella and Ren?
Ren was, pretty much. Eazy was working with a variety of different artists at that time. Black Eyed Peas was one of them. And that he was that we
At Band Clan at that time.
At Band Clan. Yeah, Above the Law. So they was kind of like doing okay. But when Eazy-E got his hands on us, he pretty much put everything that he was doing over there, Ruthless, on ice to focus on us.
So the Chronic comes out. Ruthless Records sort of had a resurgence with Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Yeah.
That did well. And then Eazy got sick.
Right. When we did the deal with Relativity, the two biggest records we had was the Bone record and Above the Law, Uncle Sam's Curse. Those were the two biggest records we had. And we was making a resurgence because we just made a big deal with and things were going smooth. We was back then. That's what demise about. And he did talk to Dre because when he got back from New York from meeting with Ice Cube, he met me at my studio because we was together in California video for Above the Law. He said, I talked to Cube and, I'm gonna talk to Dre. We thinking about putting NWA back together. So, we want everybody to just be on point and be ready to roll, next year.
We was with Eazy when he bumped into Ice Cube in New York, where we at right now at the Club Tunnel. So that was real cool to see that and see him shake hands and, really squash it right then and there and talk about doing stuff together in the future. Unfortunately, that never came to be because, he, died shortly after that.
With us having a resurgence and then Dre because that's kind of like when Death Row was about to taper off. It's about to be like some, you can kind of, with all the stuff that was swirling around at that point, he was like, it's like, what you think you do? He's like, yeah, I think so, and it's hard. He just felt that way. But unfortunately, he got really sick.
And Dre agreed to do it also.
Yeah, I mean, he said I was at the point when he first got back from New York and was going to talk to Dre. So I know he talked to him because he told me that he was going to talk to him.
I had met with him a few months before he died at a club, and we talked about getting back together. At the time, our feud had died down, and it was, him and Dre was still at odds. So I was like, yo, if you can get Dre to do it, I'm down. I'm ready.
Now, I actually had a conversation with Eazy before he passed away. I think I was on a video set. I don't remember which one it was, but somebody just randomly came up and handed me a cell phone and said, you guys should talk, right? So I got on the phone and it was Eric. And, we started talking about the mistakes we had made in the past and, potentially getting back together and making another record. And I was like, okay, I'm with it. And, and then what happened.
Did you see it coming at all? Was he, how they kind of show him coughing and everything else like that, or not really?
Not really. I mean, because he always was kind of coughy and wheezely because he had, some kind of like bronchial problem or something.
Okay.
And this had to be, this was probably later that, it was in the winter, I want to say, when he had got back from New York or something like that. And I was like, but shoot, we rolled up, blew a couple. He seemed normal to me. He wasn't coughing crazy or didn't look sick to me. Looked pretty solid to me. But, hey, I guess you never know. I mean, but I didn't see any sign.
I look at real shit. I don't look at the other shit. If it wasn't for Eric, if it wasn't for Jerry Heller, people were in Eric's ear saying, well, Jerry's stealing. Everything that's been in the tabloids and all that bullshit, Jerry's stealing. And it got to the point where Eric had to find out for himself.
When he started, really everybody around him started being really unhappy, then he started questioning what Jerry was doing. Like after just a few people stayed, the Ren, Yella, us, Cocaine, and we really weren't happy with how Jerry was doing stuff.
Okay.
To be honest with you. We liked him, we thanked him, but like I said earlier, I just think we should let the GM go.
So you remember when Jerry got fired?
Yeah, I remember leading up to it. I don't really know the physical moment, but I remember leading up to it.
Okay. Was Eazy telling you I'm going to fire Jerry?
Oh, yeah, definitely. For sure.
Which was a big move for him because Jerry got him his first deal.
Yeah, he started replacing people. Different people started coming in. It was coming.
What a lot of people don't know is like we came in a transition point of Ruthless Records. We were even there, the same secretary that had Eazy call us back. We went to the office one day to pick up some money, and she was like, y'all wait right here because Jerry is not so happy in the office right now. And he was like, she was like, y'all just wait right here because Eazy just fired him.
Right.
And we was like, damn. He started bringing all new people in. I guess he found out it was some underhanded, shady business going on up under his nose that he didn't know about.
Okay. Did you talk to Jerry after he was let go?
No, I didn't. I didn't never, because I think it's funny because when their relationship started getting really weird, Eric was like he's gonna do it, but he didn't never really say when or what, you know. And then it's kind of like we just didn't see Jerry no more.
Okay.
Know what I mean? It's like we just didn't see him no more. We didn't talk to him. We didn't, you know. And then he got sick.
What happened was there was a letter that was drafted that Eazy signed that was sent to Jerry's house. That's how Jerry was fired. Jerry and Eazy weren't talking at the end at all. I was the go-between. Jerry was still running the company, but Eazy would sign all the contracts, sign all the checks. And so Jerry would, you know, because he was the best businessman out of everybody. He knew the music business better than anybody, and he kept things rolling. You know, so I was kind of the go-between.
There was a situation with some guys from the Nation of Islam that came to the office one day when we happened to all be there. And they walked in the office unannounced. Nobody know they're coming. And Jerry was sitting in Eazy's office talking. And they just went to the door and was like, we need to talk to you right now. So I'm reading the magazine. I'm looking, I'm like, the fuck? They go inside the conference room. They was in there for probably about 2 hours. Came back out. And after that, I think Eazy started looking at his books real carefully. He kind of like, he was showing me and Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith was the guy who owned the studio that they recorded at in Torrance. And he was showing us papers like money missing, Jerry threatening to sue him after he fired him and all these different types of things. So my discrepancy with Jerry came around that time. That's when I kind of like felt like maybe Jerry had something to do with him dying so fast. That's how I felt. The more and more information I gathered, I found out that nah, he didn't.
What do you think about the people that would suggest that your cousin Jerry had something to do with Eazy's death? Well, you know, I always say follow the money. Eazy owned the company. Eazy was our Barry Gordy. You know, Jerry was his manager, and you know, Jerry managed it. Jerry could have owned half of Ruthless and didn't do it. So, you know, people that think Jerry's stolen this stuff, Jerry could have had 50% of Ruthless, but that's not how, you know, it was set up, and Eazy was always the boss. See, Mike Klein also, he went from head of security to business affairs for Eazy, head of business affairs. So he kind of worked his way in with Eric. You know, he was a badass guy, you know, and so Eazy really liked him, and so Klein, you know, the way I saw it, Klein started wedging Jerry out of the picture, and Tamika was wedging Jerry out of the picture. One day, Jerry has checks and contracts, and I mean, it's the last time I ever met Eazy. I mean, never saw Eazy alive. And so he sends me over to Solly's in Woodland Hills, and I meet with him and Mike Klein. And I sat there, and we went over everything, and Jerry would always tell me, he'd say, try to get Eric to just call me. I just want him to, so we can talk about the problem. You know, because, you know, Jerry loved Eazy. I mean, Eazy was like Jerry's kid. Eazy was Jerry's whole world, kind of. So he felt terrible that this was going on. So I'm sitting there with Eazy, you know, healthy as it can be. 1 month later, he is dead.
When Eric went to New York, that's a real scene when he bumped in the queue. When he went to New York, he had just found out that Jerry wasn't stealing. It was a couple of days after my birthday, and me and my wife now, Kavita, we were driving, and the sheriffs pulled me over, and I still had a gun on me that we'll use for a video shoot from Tab and DeVille video that Eric and we had on, that we shot the video. They called, I called Eric. No, I called Jerry. I said, Jerry, I'm in jail. Jerry immediately got Eric on the phone. Eric said, he started laughing. He said, yeah, back in jail. I said, man, they trying to strike me out. Hey, they about to give me life. Y'all don't worry about it. Just like that. He said, when I get out, I'll bail you out. And basically, my wife, you know, she said it was my gun. You know, she took the case and they released me right there out the door, right? On his way, he called my grandmother. He said, hey, where Joey? I'm going to go back. Oh, he's already home. And I called him. I said, what's up, E? He said, oh, come by. So we went and ate. You know, he told me, he said, man, I found out that Jerry wasn't stealing.
So at one point, Eazy starts to get sick.
He never got sick though.
It just happened overnight.
It happened overnight. Like you know, this was the situation.
We were at Friday, me and E, and we're having lunch. E wasn't going through nothing. He wasn't coughing in. You know, everybody say, you know, you people look skinny or go through whatever. E had a little pop belly. Like anybody who know E, he had a little pop belly. And when he be at the house in Norwalk, he won't have his shirt on. He had that pop belly showing.
Did you notice, you know what I'm saying, that he was sick? I mean, or did you just think it was
No.
like bronchitis?
No, man. No, man. No, man. He was having an asthma attack at the house in Norwalk. Said he asked one of the twins, what does the asthma attack feel like? And they said they didn't know because they didn't have asthma. They said, call Ed. So he called Ed and he asked Ed, he said, Ed, what does an asthma attack feel like? And he said, it feels like somebody stepping on you, like an elephant stepping on your chest. And he said, I'm having an asthma attack. So he told the twins to take him to the hospital. And when he went to the hospital, they was talking about it was bronchitis. Don't you think when he went then they would have thought he knew he had something? And that's the first shit. And then all that other shit, I don't know, bro.
Really is really like a super fan of Eazy. A guy named Lando Coleman. He emailed me. And he actually kind of broke down the timeline of what happened. He said Eazy was first admitted to Norwalk Community Hospital. He was released 3 days later because he didn't feel better.
If you read in some articles, you'll see that I was there them last couple of days. Before he went to the hospital on Tuesday, I'm talking to him because I'm living in one of the houses. I'm living in the big 4-bedroom with the swimming pool and the barbecue and the basketball courts and all that. And he had like this mini mansion that he was living in. Going to move from there to the Norwalk house. This is after he went to the hospital in Norwalk behind that bronchitis shit. A couple days later, I'm talking to him on the phone, and I'm like, cuz, what you want me to do with the keys? He said tomorrow. That would have been Wednesday, right? But he's talking like, you know, like kind of short breath. And it's some weed up there that I'm supposed to get at. So when I'm telling him, I said, cuz, you up there smoking weed. He said, I'm not smoking weed. And he's laughing. And I said, cuz, you need some oxygen. And he go, I got oxygen.
So we was finishing up the video that we started, and we was in the mountains. I'll never forget this. We was in the mountains. We was shooting a scene, you know, in the mountain where one of the singers was up in the tree, and then the boys was rapping, and Eric was coughing. I said, the fuck wrong with you? And he said, man, I don't know. He said, man, this asthma. I got asthma or some shit.
Because he didn't feel better, he was admitted back. He was admitted to Cedar Sinai on February 24th, 95.
He did feel better. That's why they let him out. So he felt better. He came to the studio, and in about an hour and a half time of him being in the studio, his lungs collapsed. The Dog Pound had made the song "What Would You Do." They dissed me on a song. So me and my brother came up with a song called "Dog Pound Killer." Eazy was a part of the song. The night before the studio session, he had a episode with his bronchitis. Because people don't know Eazy's voice sound the way it does is because his lungs wasn't good. That's why he projected that sound out of his voice. He came from the hospital, staying overnight in the hospital that night. Came directly from the hospital to the studio. And when he came, I think one of his groups, Hoes with Attitudes, and some other people had ended up popping up. So when he came to the studio, they was like, oh, we want to talk to you. Whoop-de whoop, whoop, whoop. So meanwhile, I've been there for 2 hours prior. So when he popped up, I'm like, damn, man, like, hurry up and come in here and do your part. Because he already knew it. He just had to lay it. So he's like, give me a minute. I'll be in here. I'm like, all right. I go wait around, come back. I'm like, E, come do your shit, man. Like, come on. Well, give me a minute. I'll be in there. The last time I go to get him, he's sitting in the hallway on the floor wheezing, taking little bitty breaths like this. So I'm like, damn. So I get down on the floor next to him. I'm like, man, what's happening? He was like, man, this asthma is fucking me up, whatever. So I guess on the way in, he went to the clinic. So he had these inhalers and he tried to take them out and, you know, use them. And he seemed like he was getting better. And then it just progressed worse.
And I get a call at night from the twins. He had 2 bodyguards. They gave me a call and said, hey, you need to get up here. You need to get up here.
So he went from healthy to sick.
Man, like that. And so I'm looking in this tube. I like, whoa, tripping me out. Right. And from there, you know, the doctor came out. They said, you know, he's in a pneumonia stage. He said, if we can beat this pneumonia, he'll be fine. You know, we can, you know, get him back to health. We said, okay, cool. So everybody that was in the hospital that was, you know, immediate was right there. And, you know, we stayed there.
So at 10 years old, your dad ends up getting sick. How did you find out about it initially?
My grandmother told me, we're going to go see your daddy. And he's not feeling well. And I said, oh, okay, where we going? You going to his house? And then she gave me the thing like, this was after we left the hospital, that he was sick like Magic Johnson. And it still didn't dawn on me. You know, she's just what the best she can say. So when I went to see him, it didn't affect me because he was normal. You know what I mean? He was cool. He wanted to eat McDonald's. It's significant that I know this, you know, that you asked me this because this is just in my head. And my grandmother kept telling him you couldn't eat solid foods like that. And he started coughing. And that was because, you know, he had the cough, the bronchial cough, and fluid in his lungs. So eating solid food like that wasn't too good. But he was like, you know, Mom, I can't eat this. So he wanted to eat the McDonald's. And I was joking to him about the McDonald's. So I remember coughing a little bit, not too well, and getting some water. We stayed there with him for a while, and then we left.
You were in the hospital with him.
I was
as he
there a
going through
lot,
all
bro.
this.
Like, come on, the first week, every day. And then it got so chaotic that I never went inside no more because they started changing the rules. They took him from one room to another room and just started changing everything. It just became complicated.
Wednesday, I don't get in contact with him. The next you know it, he's in the hospital. I think it was Thursday. And that's when, you know, how everybody's at the hospital going crazy, like, what the hell's going on? And then when I go back to my house, I can't even get in my house because they got the Muslims and the FOIs not letting me in my own crib.
So a lot of things happened that Eazy would have never, ever done on his own. When he got sick, the Nation of Islam basically protected him, or I should say, kept everybody else out. And Eazy was never that fond of the, you know, of Muslims because Ren was a Muslim, and Eazy used to make fun of him all the time. And the babies' mamas couldn't get up to see him. The babies couldn't get up to see him. We couldn't get up to see him. You know, I called the twins, you know, Jacob and John Tobio, who were his two, you know, the 2 Samoan bodyguards, you know, because I really wanted to see him. I didn't know what was going on. And they said, nah, man, they're not letting anybody up. Don't even try to come up here.
So when you initially went to go see him, he was still talking and everything.
Still talking.
So what was that conversation like?
It was just like, he was just like, man, he was scared. You know what I'm saying? As anybody would be, he was scared. And I think that, honestly, I think he knew it was something more. Like, to be truthful, I think he knew it was something more to him just popping up being sick. You know, although he couldn't really express it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he would say it in front of any and everybody, but I can kind of tell that he knew it was like, it was something more to it.
You know, and at first it was rumors going around, like, oh, you know, he got that shit. And I was like, what you talking about? Like, that ain't real. That ain't real.
He didn't want to talk to me about it. And I talked to him on the phone when he was in the hospital. Not the Cedars, but the first hospital he was in.
Okay.
We talked on the phone. He said, watch yourself. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, and I was at his house shooting a film. He said, watch yourself.
Initially, I was kind of like, I started thinking about everything, like, damn, like, nah, I'm like, something ain't right about that though. Because my little brother father died from it, but he was a heroin addict. And when he had it, I seen the way his health deteriorated over time.
Yeah.
With Eazy, it was never the case.
Did you know about his situation before they announced it?
I knew about it, yeah, before, because I remember, I knew it. Matter of fact, The rumors got around before that.
And then the press conference was 3/16/95.
A hardcore rapper who celebrates sex, crime, and violence in his music is in a hospital tonight with AIDS. He says he has no idea how he got the fatal disease.
No, it doesn't. But we just. Well, it's kind of interesting. I think I share the sentiments of the family that we're all praying that we'll get past this. We just felt that given the nature of the press, and not necessarily saying the people that are here today, we felt that it was important for us to come forward to dispel any rumors and make sure that the truth be told. Yes. Yes, Dre and Q have been notified. They were notified this morning.
Yeah, he just said that they're probably on their way to the hospital right now.
Did you say he's in the hospital? Yes, he is in the hospital at this point. What's his condition? Sorry, his condition is in intensive care. We're not certain where it's at. It's a question that was asked earlier, right? Eric Eazy is in intensive care. He's in the hospital. We're waiting. It's a moment-by-moment situation. We're praying that he pulls out of it. I'd rather not mention the name of the kid. Is he conscious? Yes. What hospital?
I'd rather not mention the name of the hospital. I was Sweeney's attorney.
SWEEDENY.
I think we got it now. Everybody will get a hand on now, Joe, okay?
Thank you.
Eazy announced that he had AIDS.
Yeah. Well, he
Um,
didn't announce it.
Who announced it?
The lawyer announced
The lawyer announced it.
it. He didn't say that.
So basically, 15 days later.
Yeah, his condition was terrible at that time, yo. He was not breathing on his own at this point. That's the whole point that I'm trying to tell you. He a respirator, you know, he had all that shit in his nose and his mouth. He was hardly ever conscious. Hardly ever.
Eazy's diagnosed with AIDS.
Right.
How did you feel when you heard
I was crushed.
Crushed.
I was crushed. I think we was on the road promoting promoting Uncle Sam's Curse. A few days before I left, maybe like a week ago, I'm telling you about the conversation that he said he had with Cube.
Did you go see him in the hospital?
Oh yeah. Tamika came and she was like, well, you can go in there, but you know, he just laid up in there. I don't want to see him with no tubes, heating up. He can't talk. I don't want to see him.
Okay.
Because I wanted to remember me and him at the mixing board smoking weed. I didn't want to see him in the bed with shit all up in
tubes and
everything.
everything.
Yeah, my last memory was just what I told you. Me and him sitting at my mixing board at the Edge recording studio in Inglewood, California, smoking weed, talking shit. That's my last memory of him.
Day that I heard what he was in the hospital for, I said something's wrong. Like I knew the dude messed with a lot of women, but he also at the same time wore condoms. He did. I mean, I know on TV or whatever he was saying, he was saying shit, but that was a lot of TV talk. I knew. I can tell you this right now. You can get 10 people that were kind of, not even have to be super close to Eric, just kind of close to Eric, and I guarantee at least 5 of them have a story about, oh, I had to run to the store and get him some condoms one day.
And Eazy, I remember I think on the Howard Stern show, he said he doesn't use condoms.
Man,
Come
Eazy used to say stuff for shock value,
I
bro.
think that's what Vlad doing right now. He's saying this shit for shock value.
No, he's saying what he really heard. I
Eazy actually
understand.
said that.
Yeah.
How many other people? Let me tell you something. Where was we at when we first heard the story? And we ended up relaying the story to another mogul about what we had just heard.
I don't remember.
At Jerry's Deli, Beverly
Beverly
Center.
Center, yeah.
With who? Russell Simmons.
Oh, Russell, yeah.
And we told him the rumor that had been told. You know what Russell Simmons said? He said, Dracer, do you know how many fucking women I've had sex with without a fucking condom? Do you know who the fuck I am? He's like,
and then we can speak about Wilt Chamberlain and all these people.
on, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
Come on, that ain't even an
argument. Yeah, it don't add up.
The weakest
Vlad.
argument ever.
And then my boy Big Man, who just passed away not too long ago, him and Eric were really close. They had just had a test 6 months prior to that. which was negative.
Was Tamika in the picture near the end?
We didn't know Tamika, man. We never met this lady.
Okay.
She didn't pop out until after he was in the hospital. And once he passed, she came and basically turned the company upside down.
I hadn't talked to Eric for like 2 years prior to that, but that was still somebody that I consider like a father to me. He helped me so much and he taught me so much. So it's like I'm always, him and Rand are two people that I'm always indebted to, like no matter what. So it's like I that's just how I felt, because no matter what Tamika says in the news, no matter what she says to anybody, she wasn't like a top 5. Okay, she weaseled her way back in once he got sick. He was done with her. It's like, ask her this. If you ever talk to her, ask her, hey, did you ever stay in the house in Norwalk? Did you ever stay in the house in Calabasas? No. Like if you're not somebody that he really, really cared about, you're never gonna enter any of these houses. And she would always tell people, oh yeah, I used to live in Norwalk. Bitch, I lived in Norwalk. You never spent the night there. Ever. I lived in Calabasas. You've never even been in that fucking house until after Eric passed.
So it's me, Dirty Red, and Eazy. We're at the little mini mansion talking about what song should be my second single. All right. Next, you know it, your girl is leaving. So I'm on my way upstairs and I say hey to her, and she don't say nothing to me. And Eazy say, never mind her, cuz she leaving. Then the next you know it, my man in the hospital and they married.
Even when he was in the hospital, he wanted to use my phone card to call some of his girls because he didn't want Tamika knowing he was doing this. And I tell you, he, in my estimation, would have never married Tamika ever. He had girls that he liked more than her, and so she ended up with everything.
He didn't sign the marriage certificate. We know that his name is typed on it.
The marriage license that I saw, his name was typed in on it and wasn't written in. And I mean, it wasn't signed by him. It was just too much bullshit.
Jerry was on our show. He said that he didn't see his signature on the wedding certificate. It was printed. Do you know anything about that? I mean, was
Yeah,
Eazy?
I saw the same thing Jerry saw. He didn't sign the wedding certificate at all.
I didn't go back until things got a little bad. I was actually right there. It was like they opened that door and I could see, and like pumping on his chest when he kind of went in and out, and doctors rushing in and out. And we went to see him earlier that day, which was normal, like it was. Then before you go to this procedure or this to get fluid off your lungs, and then when he comes out, he has tubes in his mouth and he can't talk. And I went to see him, and really more so just him kind of crying and me crying. So, you know what I mean? It was no more words. A couple of days later, they tell me he died.
Never forget the night, Tamika, Ron Swaney, and another man came up on the elevator and they went in, as she always did. And they came out, she left. And the next morning, that's when they announced Eric died. So we go crazy, like, what the fuck you talking about? So we hemmed up the doctor. This is shit nobody know. So we hemmed up the doctor. What the fuck? You told it, we on something else. And he told us what happened that night.
Which was?
That I can't really speak on because it might have me in some.
You're saying that
something happened where Eric
took a turn for the worse?
I wouldn't say took a turn for the worse. Just something happened where he ended up getting married, and the next day, day and a half, he was dead.
Rapper Eazy has died in Los Angeles after a battle with AIDS.
The 31-year-old rapper died last night in a Los Angeles hospital. He was hospitalized last month for what he thought was asthma and said that he did not know how he contracted AIDS. Eazy, whose real name was Eric Wright, was a founding member of the band NWA. The band practically originated the hardcore style of gangster rap and was a huge influence in the rap community.
I would like to turn my own problem into something good that will reach out to all my homeboys.
I just feel that I got thousands and thousands of young fans that have to learn about what's real when it comes to AIDS.
Yes, Dr. Young.
Dr. Young.
Hello?
William Young.
Doctor, can you just give us a general, there was complications two ways?
Yes, his death occurred as a direct complication of acquired immune deficiency syndrome. He was diagnosed earlier this week as having a pneumocystis pneumonia. He'd been treated with several regimes to control his pneumocystis. Unfortunately, none of the regimes that he received was successful.
Any idea, doctor, how he might have contracted this and not knowing that he had it?
No, I have no idea. Historically, he did not get the AIDS virus from homosexual or from IV drug contact. He denied both homosexual activities as well as intravenous drug use. He then must have contracted the AIDS virus through heterosexual contacts.
But it would seem unusual that he would be this far along and not have any symptoms prior, or is that incorrect?
No, that is incorrect. Often the AIDS virus can lie dormant in one's system for 8 to 10 years prior to the onset of any signs or symptoms of the disease. It just turns out that he was one of the people who remained totally healthy, whereas that more characteristically people develop some other manifestation of the decline in the immune system prior to coming in at the final stages. His T cells at the time of his initial evaluation was extremely low, which indicated that that this disease had reached a very definite and advanced stage at the time of his presentation.
Can you talk about his last moments? Did he say anything or anything you can share with us about his last moments?
Well, his last moments in terms of his ability to communicate was actually several days ago, because he has been on life support systems since the 15th, since he was placed in the intensive care unit. He was placed on a machine to aid in his breathing. At the time that he was placed in the intensive care unit, he had such critically low oxygen, he had been paralyzed and sedated in order to maintain him until the time of his death.
I mean, Eazy was the first rapper to die from AIDS.
So they say.
So they say.
You don't believe it?
No.
I know people personally, and I know who's passed away from that. It's a process. You don't just get diagnosed with HIV then die from AIDS. It doesn't happen.
And then
when does it happen? You have a woman who's pregnant when you pass, and you have just had a baby.
You
pass.
got side.
Then you have 11 other children. Then you got all these other side women. Yeah. Why have no one popped up about being been given? If you had a cousin, a sister, a friend who had sex with, wouldn't you be telling?
It don't add up.
It doesn't add up, bro.
Yeah, nobody. That's the thing. None of his kids. Any of the women. Any of the women? Nobody.
But then his death certificate, it says cardiac arrest. How about that?
So why they not saying he died from cardiac arrest? You see what I'm saying? It don't say cardiac arrest due to complications with the AIDS virus. It just says cardiac arrest. You see what I'm saying? And that's just, come on.
He died very quickly. There was no autopsy. He was cremated.
Yeah. And I think the reason why a lot of people think there's the foul play is because of the Suge interview on Jimmy Kimmel.
Technology is so high, right? Right. So if you shoot somebody, you go to jail forever. So the kids, you don't want to go to jail forever, right? So they got this new thing out there. People sell them all the time. They got this stuff they get blood from somebody with AIDS. Yeah. And then they shoot you with it.
Oh,
so
that seems bad.
That's a slow death.
Yeah.
An easy thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, no.
That Suge saying shit that he should have never had no business saying, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
It's stuff like that. Looking back on it, it's like, yo, what did this dude know?
There's parts of this stuff that we was there for. And we were there for parts of the ruthless takeover and a lot of, you know what I mean? We were present. You know what I mean? So it's just the way that a lot of stuff transpired that the public might not really be putting the pieces together like Tupac murder. You know what I'm saying? If they was putting the pieces together like Eazy, then they would see it would be out there. You know what I mean? But it's a reason why that's not being done as well, right?
He had a final statement that was read by his lawyer.
That's not true though. Who wrote it? See what I'm saying? How can you write a statement when you have a whole respirator pumping your lungs and shit? That's what I'm trying to tell you, yo. It's like, come on. Like, it's, you know, like those people, that lawyer is complicit in this case. That lady is complicit in this case. And some other people, yo. You understand what I'm saying?
When Eazy gets AIDS, and this lawyer, Ron Sweeney, he reads this thing that Eric supposedly wrote, you know, to the people, you know, the kids and everything. Again, this is something Eric would have, so many things happen that Eric would have never in a million years done.
Supposedly
check this out. Eazy, he was on his deathbed, couldn't speak.
couldn't
I
even
was
talk,
there.
bro.
I was in the
Oh,
hospital.
you showed up.
He had all that shit.
I was at the hospital. I was in the room. I was in the back with the family.
You went to the hospital
Yeah.
when Eazy was
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah, immediate.
We was always there. I never would go in though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I would go my way.
be outside.
A lot
in
of
the
people
parking
wouldn't have been
lot,
allowed
but
to go to
yeah,
the
a lot of
places we
people
went
wouldn't.
in the hospital. You understand what I'm saying?
We don't know who wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but
we know he didn't write it. We know that for a fact. It wasn't in his handwriting. And you can probably find it. And I can show you how he wrote. He wrote like somebody that does graffiti. You understand what I'm saying? And I doubt if he read that letter in that handwriting. I honestly do. The media, you know, their push kind of like overshadowed the truth. You know what I'm saying? By them just saying that and everybody ran with it. You know, a lot of people might still think that that's the bottom line, but the closer that we got to the facts, yo, and just being a logical, rational human being, bro, it just doesn't add up. You know, and then they just got out of like arbitration with Tamika. You know, Eric and some people in his family and a couple of people that I know. And it almost came out. The truth almost came out. You know what I'm saying? Because it goes that deep. You see what I'm saying? So that's why she spoke what she spoke. She knows a different story. That's why me and my brother sit here and said what we said. We know a different story.
you know, I'm not one to hold my tongue or take back what I say, but I think based on what you're telling me, you know, I'm going to apologize to Eazy's family.
Appreciate it, bro.
You know, for you know, saying some things that may not be as black and white as I thought they were. And you know, shout out to Lil Eazy and the rest of Eazy's family. I think he had what 11 kids now.
Yeah, 11. Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually 2 kids named
Yeah,
Eric.
we always knew. I mean, I've always knew it was 11, although I didn't know who all the 11 were. But that's before he passed away. I knew it was 11. I know the kids didn't know, but I did.
Okay, well, in that final letter that was read, he said 7.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. See what I'm trying to tell you? See what I'm saying?
You know,
Yeah, there's foul play. Ain't no doubt about it.
Foul play.
My dad told me that. My dad, rest in peace, he told me, he said, look, he said, I don't know, he said, but I know when you're dealing with people in big business, and Eric was a young, powerful dude, I wouldn't count out foul play. He told me that. He woke me up one morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, was like, I don't understand what happened to Eric. It doesn't make any sense. You know, I've been around AIDS. I've been in the music business for 30 years. I've never seen nobody die that quick of AIDS. This doesn't make any sense. He said, but when you talk about big business with the people that we've dealt with all our whole career, you can't rule out foul play. If many of people have told me that, you know, do I have proof? No. Do I feel a certain way about it? Yes, I do. Okay. That's my honest thing, Vlad. I feel a certain way about it.
There was rumors on the internet where he claimed that you had injected Eazy with AIDS. What's your response to that?
My response to that is follow the money. Who had the most to gain from Eazy dying? I'm the only person that didn't gain from it.
Just a whole bunch of bullshit.
You know, I'm the only person that had nothing to gain and everything to lose from him dying.
We had great accountants. We had smart guys. You know, and the whole thing about Jerry stealing and all that stuff, total bullshit.
Do you have any speculations in your mind of who could have possibly done that?
I don't know. I'd put it like this. Money was the rule of all evil. I'll leave that statement.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I know one person. It wasn't the wife. That's for sure.
It wasn't the wife.
No.
Okay.
Ain't no way.
Okay.
That
We had
fact.
we had somebody on the show prior to you that kind of suggested it was. Didn't come out and say so. So you're saying it wasn't the wife.
Yeah,
Okay.
bigger entities involved.
Bigger entities. Could these be possibly the same entities that had something to do with Tupac's flame?
I don't know that. I don't know.
Like a star. You put your hands together and say, oh yeah. Let me see somebody get Dre, Should, EOT, around the floor. That Row Records is going to be the record company of the 2000s.
We were thinking about putting in metal detectors at the entrance. Everyone gets served with subpoenas as an invitation. You're hereby ordered to appear before the Honorable Dr. Dre and the officers of GF Entertainment as a guest of the court to witness the springing of Death Row Records.
Put your hands together. Someone going to make some noise.
We invited virtually every major record company executive in Los Angeles and New York. And it was so big that we originally planned on spending around 20, 25,000. I think it turned out to be 35 or 50.
They had enough money at that time behind them, and they looked good. For somebody that comes out of nowhere to have a party at Chase's on Grammy night, which is reserved generally for all the white people. It's also a place that would never be associated with rap music in any way unless it was something co-sponsored by a white group.
The market we're going after, we're mainly for the people. I mean, for us, the West Coast, there's a lot of talent around that guys, we don't have the opportunity to have a chance to prove themselves. So as far as GF Entertainment goes, with the studio and the films, we're giving all the youngsters an opportunity from all the neighborhoods where basically we haven't forgot where we came from.
I personally interviewed all of the players that were there.
GF Entertainment is a multimedia company. We have Death Row Records. We have a movie production unit, concerts. We're going to be doing pay-per-view concerts and all kinds of exciting things.
The Chronic was finished. We had originally thought we were going to be able to distribute the record with Sony.
This would have been the first time in history that young guys would have actually had the opportunity to have a distribution deal, what they call a P&D deal, through a major and get all of the money.
Sony refused to distribute the Chronic.
Sony, because of their fearfulness of some of the crazy things going on around Death Row and their wariness of the contractual status of Dr. Dre, didn't want to get that deal done.
Because of Eazy persistence, he had been wrong and he had been robbed for his artists. Sony chose not to be a part of the lawsuit.
All over the country, they had pockets of young brothers who sold dope and had to carry 9mm pistols, who had a lot of money that could relate.
They sold over 1 million albums. And we have to understand that with rap music, past 500,000, 600,000 albums, you go outside the black community.
You had little white kids out there that was, grew up in Pop's Country Club, and they wasn't having it. They wanted to hear NWA.
It became clear that there weren't just 10,000 kids listening to this. There was hundreds of thousands in each city. People sat back and seen an album that sold 1 million units, but never played on radio. And I had to question myself, how does this happen? How did this happen? What went on here?
Now, when it starts making real money and it starts looking like some success is going to come about, that's when the shit starts.
Eazy and Jerry wasn't paying Dr. Dre enough money. At that time, I was owed money, but they wasn't paying it. You know what I'm saying? I think they were trying to starve me out. As hard as you work for your money, there's at least 2 or 3 people out there working just as hard to get it from you.
I was there when Dre told me he would sell his soul to the devil for $1 million. And I swear right now, devil got to have a receipt for his ass.
Dre basically made Ruthless Records. I mean, he did the music. He probably the one who, knew how to work with the artists. And it must have been him and Eazy's company together. And then when Eazy met Jerry, Jerry came in and ex Dre out and say, I give you a little bit more money. We just use Dre basically as a slave.
They had the worst contracts I'd ever seen in the history of the record business. The contracts that Ruthless and Jerry Heller had with NWA and Dre, I guess if I said draconian, that would be a kind word.
In the process of having a number of conversations with Doc and Dre, the question came up about how can we be assured that we're going to get paid in the future? Dick said, look, Dre, if you can make records the way you make records, I'll show you how to start a company. You won't have to worry about people paying you. You'll have a company that you own and control.
I suggested that, why don't you guys go and talk to Eazy and see if you can make a deal where Dre continues to produce Eazy. For Ruthless, he continues to produce NWA and the other acts.
I was consulting for Ruthless, for Eazy-E, working through Jerry Heller. One day, Dre came in with Suge to my office in Hollywood and simply said they had left Ruthless, were starting their own company called Death Row Records.
It didn't go down like we were supposed to, and so Eazy had to be persuaded to make some moves to make things happen.
According to court papers, Suge and friends basically came in and told Eric and Jerry Heller Dre was leaving and they couldn't stop them, and that this was not just legal, it was physical, it was personal. The stories that Eric E. told was that they came in with baseball bats, threatened guns.
Under threat of his life and telling him that they would kill his mother and that they were holding me hostage. Under those kinds of duress, got him to sign releases for Dr. Dre.
I wasn't there. I wasn't in the room. But when Eazy-E said in the papers that me and the chairman of Sony, Tommy Mottola, was in the room with bats and pipes, he's obviously a liar.
There's no question that we have substantial documentary evidence of a conspiracy here.
Eric Wright, Eazy-E, filed a RICO lawsuit against them. It was the first time RICO had been used in the music business. RICO is a racketeering lawsuit. It's the thing that they use to get the mafia, and they can't get the mafia leaders on anything else. Eazy's lawsuit contended that there was money laundering, extortion, threats, and violent intimidation. Not only was it charged against Suge and Death Row for stealing what was their top producer, Dr. Dre, it was charged against Sony Music. From day one, this label was born amidst a controversy that involved violence.
But you know, my opinion was, look, I ain't no punk. You don't got to talk for us. We're going to go in there to speak for ourselves. Instead of getting $1, we want 5. You know, and our masters, and our ownership.
What they ended up with is going over to Interscope and getting one of those regular slave deals.
I even had to go pay off Ruthless, Eazy, Jerry Heller, and have the Chronic distributed through Priority Records.
Eazy was getting on Dre's Chronic record like 50 cents a copy and maybe 25 cents, meaning, yeah, Dre Day, he talking shit about me. But every time Dre Day sell a record, I get 25 cents a copy.
After they signed the agreement, I think they realized that they needed to leave, and they did. All of a sudden, they disappeared.
Should cut off all ties with, the people he was dealing with in the beginning, and we got a whole new office and a whole new crew.
And that really became kind of the rupture of the relationship between Dick and Suge and Doc and Dre.
The Chronic rolls out and sells 5 million copies, generates $50 million. The sale